Page 14, My Gal Sal. The fingering they show in the book is fine. You use that if you want, just take it. I'm going to offer you some other suggestions. You can disregard my suggestions, it's not important. It's just there's some fingerings in here. The way I finger, the way I was taught to finger, my fingering style that I use is different than this. All right? And I'm going to tell you what it is. So you can experiment on your own and try these things out. Yeah? In the right, see, the left hand is just doing chords. It's no big deal. You got the 1 chord, 4 chord, and there's some other chords. You can figure out the left hand. It really should not be a problem for you, I don't think. The only tricky thing maybe in the left hand would be on page 15. Second line, the last 2 measures. You see those? And then the B flat. B flat with 4th finger. Right. It's the right hand. At the beginning of this, they have the thumb playing the first 3 notes, the G's. I recommend, because I don't like using the same finger on to play repeated notes if I can help it. And that's not really true all the time. Sometimes I do that, but most of the time I prefer to use different fingers. So here, I would recommend a 3-2-1 for those 3 G's. The first G with 3, then the half note with 2, and then finally the 1. Now, in the second measure, remember the 3rd finger's on that C, because when you're in this position, the 3rd finger wants to play the B. So you got to move the 3rd finger up a note to get the C. Okay? At the end of the first line, those 2 8th notes, same fingering as the beginning. I prefer 3-2-1. And then you could use 1 again if you wanted to. At the end of the second line, those 2 8th notes, you could use 5 if you wanted. I prefer 3-4, and then a 5 for the first note on the next line. So it's 3-4-5. May seem awkward, but that's a good habit to learn to do that. All right, get where it's comfortable. Bottom of page 14, last note in the right hand. We got these 3 G's again. I'm recommending 3 on that. So at the top of page 15, it's 2 and a 1. It's my suggestion. It's only a suggestion. Take a look at the end of the second line on page 15 in the right hand. They're suggesting you play that C with a 5 because that puts you in position for what's coming. I don't like that necessarily, because the C in front of that is played with a 3rd finger. Okay, I suggest you play the C at the end of line 15, that quarter note, with your 3rd finger again, or 4th finger actually, doesn't matter, and then use the 5th finger on the first note of the 4th line. So you could do that. You could do the 3 for the half note, and then a 4 for the quarter note, and then a 5 for the next line. Then on the 4th line, in the second measure, you have a 3 on the 8th note, it's G sharp. Now normally it would be a 4 here, and that's fine. There are different ways of fingering this, alright? You could do a 4 for the 3rd measure. A 4, the G with a 3, and the E with a 2. So you're separating these fingers like in an arpeggio. How about that? Okay. Because we need the thumb on the F, the first note of the last measure. Because that puts you in position for the rest. Okay. Or you have the 3rd finger on the 8th note. We haven't changed that. That's it. The next note in the 3rd measure, that A, you could use the 5th finger, and the 4th, then the 2 on the E, and a thumb. Either way you go, I recommend a thumb on that F, because that puts you in position. Now, if you're advanced enough and you're accustomed to this, and I don't know if they've introduced finger substitution yet. Some method books do it and others don't do it. And I'm a big believer in finger substituting. Organists use it a lot, and pianists, do too, actually. In the last line, the first measure, you have an E, fifth finger. It's nice to connect the melody. So kind of hard to do with the chords, but you can, on the next measure, you could use a 1/4 on that, and there you're connecting it. Okay. Now you could use a 1/3 on the other one if you know it's not necessary. But on the first measure, that, and then a 4. After you play it, the substitute a 5 for that 4, and then you could use 4 on the next one. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. That's very common in piano playing. It adds a little level of complexity to the music, but why not? Experiment a little, have some fun. If you can handle it. If you're struggling to just get the notes, then forget it. Just do what they tell you to do. Far as the pedaling goes, I have real problems with the pedal markings in this book. I really do. I went through the book and I just looked at them and I thought, So I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to say what I think they should be, okay? This particular piece happens to be pretty close. Their lines up and down are pretty close. On the first line on page 14 in the pedal, when it comes down there in that measure, those last two measures, right? It comes down, the line is right after the note, and that's what I say. Play the note first and then push the pedal down. I say that anyway. So you're going to do that. You need to lift the pedal up before you play the eighth notes, because the eighth notes are a new phrase and we know a little bit of silence there, so it's that. Same thing, second line. Okay. Same thing on the last line. Same there. Same thing at the top of page 15. And now on the second line on page 15, you do have a legato pedaling. Finally, they put a little arrow in it between the two. So we're going to, on the next to the last measure, we're on page 15, second line, next to the last measure. We're going to push the pedal down right after you play the notes. Then we're going to play the rest of the measure. And then right after you play the B flat in the left hand, you put the pedal up and right back down. Right? And then before you play the C, the last note in the right hand, lift the pedal up so we get a little bit of silence. So it's that. At the end, bottom of page 15, last two measures, you're going to push the pedal down right after you play the first note in that measure. And you lift the hands and the pedal at the same time. And that's, pedaling on this piece is pretty simple. So, yeah, you can be very accurate with it. I know you can, yes. You have quarter rests all over the place in the left hand. In this piece, those rests are important. Well, they're probably important in every piece, but it really matters. Like in that first full measure on page 14, that last note, G's got to sound by itself. All right, don't hold the left hand down on that. It's got to be by itself. So be exact now, and always bring out the melody, which is in the right hand. So you can play the right hand a little louder than the left hand. You're going to play the right hand according to the dynamic. At the beginning, it's MF, mezzo forte, medium loud. You're going to play the left hand under that. So the right hand controls the dynamics, the left hand stays under it. Let's try this out together slowly, okay, very slowly, so you can hear the notes. And if you want to use the fingering I suggested, great. If you don't, that's fine too. I will probably use it because that's the fingering I'm used to. So put your hands where it goes. If you're going to use a thumb, put your thumb there in the left hand. I'm going to use third finger. And put your foot on the pedal so you're ready to go. 3/4 time, and it has a pickup, so I'm only going to give us 2 counts, and we're going to start, so be ready. Ready, go.